all personalizing of content without people's permission is spying, so there's no difference.
So me clicking on the OK button that there's a cookie isn't...
No, you're being spied on date immediately.
Well, but I consent to the fact that they...
Yeah, but you don't really know what you're consenting to in most cases. Do you read the terms?
They're there.
Did you read them?
No,
Ever?
I don't.
No,
But
nobody
I'm
does.
okay with it.
There isn't a single lawyer in the world that would say don't read the terms, okay? It's completely coercive, it's completely broken, it's completely wrong.
Did we have him sign our papers, by the way?
No, I was going to.
No, it's okay, yeah.
Hello and welcome to Coffee with Mr. IoT. My name is Robert Schmidt. I'm Deloitte's Chief Futurist, also known as Mr. IoT. And today my guest is Doc Searls. You are the founder and board member of Customer Commons. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
We are here together at the Singularity University Summit.
Yeah.
And you spoke today. What did you speak about?
Wow, I could tell you the IoT part of it. Oh, that might be the first part. Actually, the title of the session was "How do we make the internet safe?" and I compared that to making gravity safe or making the air safe for birds, because the internet is everywhere and the internet is inherently whatever we make of it. You know, it can be unsafe, it can be safe. But where we pivoted from with that is basically the role of individuals, individual empowerment. You know, that's what Customer Commons is about, that the internet as we have it today is only about 25 years old. It really dates from the 30th of April 1995, when the last of the backbones within the internet that forbid a certain kind of traffic went down. That was the NSF net. As soon as that happened, commercial activity was possible. And we kind of like froze the internet or our experience of the internet or the way it was deployed with an architecture called client-server. And client-server might as well have been called slave-master. And in fact, I've been told it was going to be called slave-master until they thought maybe client-server sounds better than that.
Good choice.
But it doesn't have to be that. The internet is basically a peer-to-peer thing. It's point-to-point. And it's designed in such a way that every individual on it can have full agency.
So it's interesting to me, you started out by saying to make the internet safe is like talking about the birds in the sky. Are you saying that inherently this is just a perception thing that the internet isn't safe?
Yeah, it is. I mean, the internet is unsafe in the sense that we're being spied on all the time. I think this is it's a creepy thing. It's a wrong thing. I think it's here in the physical world, in the natural world, the way civilization works, the way we are social animals. We don't follow each other around, right? I mean, to follow another person without a clear invitation or a court order is wrong on its face and should have been wrong from the start. But because what can be done in technology will be done in technology until we find out what's wrong with that, we've done the wrong thing for quite some time, and now we're finding out what is wrong with it, which is creeping people out so you can send them better advertising is really not a really good deal.
So I'm curious, when I listen to you talk about the internet and there's sort of like your feelings about this, it sounds dark. Do you think about the internet this dark?
Oh God, no. I think of the internet as like, how is language dark? You know, it's a way that the internet is a way, it's not a thing. There is no there. I mean, this is one of the things that, and this comes from my wife, who very early on, when the internet first showed up at our house in the mid-90s, she said that the future of the internet is local. Why is that? She said, it gets rid of distance, okay? It not only eliminates distance, it has no gravity because there's no there. And we're living, when we're online, when we're in the digital world, we're in a place that has no distance and no gravity. This is entirely new to human experience. And all kinds of fake stuff will be made on this because it's very easy to fake stuff up there.
So what's the difference between spying on someone and personalizing the content?
all personalizing of content without people's permission is spying, so there's no difference.
So me clicking on the OK button that there's a cookie isn't...
No, you're being spied on date immediately.
Well, but I consent to the fact that they...
Yeah, but you don't really know what you're consenting to in most cases. Do you read the terms?
They're there.
Did you read them?
No,
Ever?
I don't.
No,
But
nobody
I'm
does.
okay with it.
There isn't a single lawyer in the world that would say don't read the terms, okay? It's completely coercive, it's completely broken, it's completely wrong.
Did we have him? Did we have him sign our papers, by the way?
No, I was going to do
No, it's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's...
We had a release form for the videos. I was curious.
You can do whatever you want with the videos. You I don't care. I mean, I want to. I want to sign disclosure terms. I mean, I'm tired of non-disclosures. I want to sign something that says I promise to tell the world everything that I just heard, because that would be much more useful to companies than the ones I don't. We have deep dark secrets.
I'm actually watching now if he reads it or not. I'm just curious.
No, I'm not going to. Excuse me. Can we just take time out from this whole thing while I read whatever? It has
do it afterwards.
it has the word "further" in it. I don't think so. The thing is, this kind of stuff is inherently broken. I mean, what if I had a policy of my own that said every time I give an interview, I'm giving complete permission to whoever I'm giving it to use it for whatever purpose they want? Here's an interesting fact. I've been told, so it makes it possible, that more of my photos than photos by anybody else are in Wikipedia. Why is that? Well, I shoot a lot of pictures out the windows of airplanes because I care about geology and geography, and I like it when I take a picture of Telford, Nebraska, that somebody finds a photo tagged Telford, Nebraska, and puts it in Wikipedia. That's one example, right? There are thousands of photos of Wikipedia. I didn't put them there. I simply licensed them through Creative Commons, on which Customer Comments is modeled, to require attribution only. That way I find out whether they use it or not. And people see that, they say, hey, wait a minute, it's just attribution only. I'm going to put it in Wikimedia Commons because maybe Wikipedia could use that. Or I want it in Wikipedia, so I'll stick it in Wikimedia Commons first, and it shows up there. And it's entirely passive on my part, okay? I want the world to be able to use that stuff. In a similar way, there are all kinds of ways that we behave in society that are inherently generous, okay? That, and in my case, I'm not even being generous. I have some ideas I'd like the world to know about, so that's one reason I'm glad to do this. If you're giving an interview on the radio, or what radio is now, which is podcasts, you want the world to know those things. So it'd be nice if I walked in and I even had a Bluetooth thing on my watch or something that says, here's his terms. You know, okay with you? Yeah, okay with you. Use it anywhere you want. I don't care. That would make life so much simpler. You know, if all of us were walking around with the means by which to assert that kind of agency in the world, it's going to be a simpler place. You know, think of all the work companies have to do, their lawyers, to carefully recraft every single, term that you're going to force people to agree to, usually based on paranoia about that. We don't want to be sued. That's what it's all about. And I could promise not to sue as soon as I walk in.
So I listened today to a presentation about AI, artificial intelligence, and there were some interesting sort of steps of when you embark on something like this. And it talked about safety and artificial intelligence. Sort of like the thing that fascinates me is that, we teach artificial intelligence logic, but we also need to teach it ethics, right? Because a lot of the decisions we make are based on our values. If we don't teach you values, how can we make decisions? But the last sentence which really caught me, and this is what I want to ask you about, was that there's only very few people, most people really want to do good with AI.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that to be true for the internet too. Most people want to use it for good reasons. Do you believe in that?
Yeah, I think most people, the way society works is inherently generous. I think we are inherently generous with each other. We don't walk down the street punching everybody we meet, right? We just don't do that.
You show up here with me and have a conversation with me, right? That's very generous.
Humans, I think humans are inherently, I think we're wired to be generous and good to each other. And I also think, for what it's worth, that AI is a very broad and general term that is probably neither artificial nor intelligent. I think it's It's a collection of capacities, of computing capacities that are useful, that have a box office name right now. But that said, to me, the most important AI is the one that I have. You know, I want my own. I mean, this is what Doug Engelbart called it in the first place. I mean, he in the most trivial way invented the mouse, but in many larger ways, he invented the conceptual framework for much of what we now call the internet and the digital world. And he wanted augmented intelligence. That's what he called it. We need to augment our own intelligence. You know, this thing in my pocket augments a lot of things. It augments my calendar. That's how I found my way over here, right? You know, and it augments a great deal of things. It remembers a lot of things I would not otherwise remember. I think the biggest thing that microcircuits and the internet do for us has to do with memory. It has to do with remembering things. We're not built to remember things very well. We don't remember how we started the sentences we're now ending, or how we're going to end the sentences we're starting. That's fundamental to the human condition. But we're somehow able to remember what the other person meant, and to remember what we meant when we're saying that. Show me the AI that comes with those flaws and has that grace at the same time. They don't exist because they're not human. And how do we augment our humanity? How do we make our humanity more human, more generous, more connected in a constructive way, more able, for example, to see, our effects in the world? How is it that when I'm recycling, this has a real effect? So, but my point there with that is that it doesn't matter. I forgot what
you remember what you meant to say.
I'm exemplifying the point I was just making. If I had an AI, I'd remember what the hell I was talking about.
Let me close with a simple question. What are people going to talk about today in 20 years or 30 years or 40 years? And I know that's much less of a shorter time.
No,
but I think
no,
time
I think
accelerates.
it's an interesting
so
thing.
what do you think they're going to talk about today when they look back 40 years from today?
There are a lot of dysfunctional things that have come out of the early years of digital life. But in the same way as, I will look back on the 50s and 60s when every town in the US had one rock and roll radio station, and everybody had a common memory of what that was like. But I imagine that in 20 years, my youngest son, who's now 22, will be talking about, remember when we had iPhones and Androids, and remember when we had, 10 different chat systems in order to get around our parents and whatever else it was, instead of whatever the hell it is we're using now. I think it's going to be that kind of thing. But I think we're going to have institutions we do not have now. And we will have conventions we don't have now. But they're going to be human ones. They're going to be human conventions. I talked to a botanist, a good friend of mine, who is really the father of wine in the Santa Barbara area. And his name is Michael Benedict, and he's brilliant. And he's a botanist, and he was telling me we're 50 years from knowing how plants communicate with each other. We're 50 years from knowing how life is connected in the botanic world. We know the animal world pretty well because we can identify with it. A cow has two eyes. Even if we eat it later, we're looking at something with two eyes and some kind of a soul. We have no idea what a tree is before we turn it into lumber. And that matters. That's stuff we're a long way away from. So maybe 20 years from now, we'll be, talking about, wow, look at what we found out about plants. It's going to be, it'll be interesting, whatever it is.
I always have a much simpler thought. I always wonder when people look back to today, they're going to look at the pictures we have and they say, why are there so many arms in the pictures when they have a picture of themselves?
Right. Or
selfies.
My wife's point is that she thinks at 500 years from now, 1,000 years from now, if we're still around, we will look back on this time as nothing happened, because everything was digital, everything was remembered in the cloud, everything was remembered on a hard drive. The hard drives died, the CDs died, the DVDs died. Right now, Linux Journal, which I've written for 25 years, my cause with that is how do we save 25 years worth of archives that trace the entire history of an operating system that was a single kid in Finland into something that's in every TV. It's in everything you can name. That's a chronicle of that. And if that website goes down, and if all that gets forgotten, it's going to be gone. We're in real danger, I think, of losing a record of what's happening now. So maybe 20 years from now, there will be the most important thing on the internet is the Internet Archive.
I have to say, for closing, I really look forward to the day when we have agreements that are better than they are today on the internet.
Yeah.
How we communicate. I thought that was a great sort of thought for me to take home with.
Well,
And with
Customer
that-
Commons, go to Customer Commons and look at terms. We're going to make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you
here.
too.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
And with that, we're coming to another end of Coffee with Mr. IoT. If you missed any of today's show or any past shows, please look at our playlist. And don't forget to subscribe up here, down there, I don't know, one of those. Thank you so much. Have a good one.